have a voice that is truly amazing. Thanks a lot. How old are you? 17. Wow, that's really crazy. Jonathan, you're going to be famous one day. They came out on stage as two shy teens and came back as one of Britain's most famous singing pairs. But what seemed like perfect balance on Britain's Got Talent was really just the start of a much more complicated story. Something changed in the background of the standing ovations, record deals, and emotional shows. What did Jonathan and Charlotte really do after the cameras stopped rolling? Was it duty or limits? Fame or bad press? We look at the twists and turns that fans didn't see coming in this in-depth look. The truth has many more layers than any story ever suggested, from the shocking advice a judge gave them to the silence that followed their victory. Get ready for insights and discoveries. And a few scenes that might change the way you remember this famous pair. Because the best performances don't always hide the most important problems. The strange melody. Before they were on Britain's Got Talent and on press tours, Jonathan Antoine and Charlotte Giaconelli were just two musically inclined teens from Chigwell, Essex, who went to West Hatch High School. Even though they both loved music, they had never worked together before. One of their teachers made a terrible choice. Jeanette Brown, their music teacher, saw talent in both of them, but had no idea that putting them together for a simple school event would lead to them becoming a famous singing duo across the country. The chance came up at Brown's own wedding, not during a school show or test. She wanted her students to be involved, so she asked Jonathan and Charlotte to sing The Prayer, a strong duet that requires both skill and emotional connection. Later interviews showed that neither of the students had thought of the other as a possible duo partner before this. They still agreed to play together, though. I could tell right away their voices, Jonathan's rich operatic tenor and Charlotte's smooth, dramatic soprano, worked amazingly well together. Their performance shocked not only their teacher, but also the actual classmates. They made a sound that was both surprising and magical because their voices were different and matched each other in just the right way. Years later, Jeanette Brown thought back to that moment and remembered how the two people seemed to go together right away. She told him how happy she was to have been a small part of what would become a big turning point in their lives. It wasn't an audition or a talent search at all. It was just a teacher's emotional choice for her wedding. After this show, Jonathan and Charlotte became more interested in how well they worked together musically. Their teachers, like Brown and Jenny Ewington, pushed them to work together. So they did. Eventually, they became a team. Together they built confidence and a good musical foundation that would help them when they tried out for Britain's Got Talent in 2012. Even though this was years before they finally tried to get famous, this school project set the stage for everything that would happen in theatre and the stage itself. But just as they were getting used to working together, someone on live TV said something that almost threw them all off Charlotte's part in what was clearly a well-balanced duo. Jonathan didn't think twice about what to say. Even though he was only 17 years old at the time, on national TV, he flatly turned down Cowell's advice, saying he would not leave Charlotte. His unflinching loyalty became a hot topic right away and earned him a lot of respect. Instead of splitting up, they kept going in the competition together, showing week after week that their relationship was not only strong emotionally, but also good for their music. It was clear that they were close because they respected each other and were true friends. It also made Cal's idea seem not only too early, but also wrong, when Cal realized after the fact that he might have been wrong. Afterwards, he said that Charlotte's voice mixed with Jonathan's in a way that Cal had not expected. Years later, Jonathan told Expressco that the comment was very important. He then said that the Simon on TV was a more sexy version of the real Simon, while behind the scenes, the real Simon was much nicer and more helpful to him, a little sweetheart when not being filmed. It makes their work situation a lot more complicated than that tense audition made it seem at first. After their show, speculation had both opinions on their music and guesses about how well they got along with each other. A possible relationship between the two kids was going around, which Jonathan later called creepy and gave me a barfy feeling. He thought of Charlotte as more like a sister, and their relationship had always been serious and friendly. On the BGT stage, the moment wasn't just against the music mogul's will. Great music, setting the tone for what would become one of the most memorable trips in BGT history. It was very moving. Simon Cowell first suggested that Jonathan go out on his own, but the pair stuck together, and their loyalty was soon rewarded. They sang Caruso in the semi-finals, a powerful song by Lucio Dalla that is hard to sing. The performance got a lot of good reviews. It was great. According to Amanda Holden, Simon Cowell, who had been doubtful at first, agreed that the two had made the right choice by staying together. His change of heart showed how far Jonathan and Charlotte had come. They had not only shown their enemies they were wrong, but they had done it with honor and consistency. They won the general vote that night, which sent them straight to the finals. At the end, Jonathan and Charlotte went back to the song that started it all, the prayer. The whole circle of their performance showed how far they'd come as artists and how much closer they were by making up for their last duo. Their relationship was better, their voices were stronger, and their bond was clearer than ever. David Walliams called their last act sensational, and Simon Cowell, who had been skeptical at first, said unbelievable. It was a big step forward for the teenage duo and proved that they could make money. Even though they came in second place behind Ashley and Putsy, Jonathan and Charlotte's singing skills and emotional appeal made a big impression on both fans and business leaders. Cowell, who had told Jonathan to go single at first, was now supporting the duo as recording artists, which shows how completely they had turned things around. Together, their first record came out in September 2012 in the UK and a month later in the US. Graham Stack produced the album. Stack had worked with the classical crossover group. Sharing this part of herself was more than just a big step in her life. In the arts world, it was also a show of support for the LGBTQ+ group. In addition to talking about herself, Charlotte has used her fame to talk about bigger problems in the theatre world, especially mental health. She has been honest about the mental stress that actors feel because she went from being on reality TV to working in live theatre, which is very There is a growing movement in the theatre business to put more emphasis on performers' mental health and support networks. This is especially true as conversations about burnout and self-care become more common in creative fields. Charlotte's social media image shows how much she has changed, from just a performer to a public person who is easy to talk to and cares about what they say. She often posts funny things about her day, behind-the-scenes videos from her theatre life, and thoughts on her personal growth on Instagram and TikTok. She is known for her sharp wit and self-deprecating. This powerful mix of honesty and charm has helped her build a strong fan base that goes beyond her time on BGT and includes a whole new generation of musical theatre fans. Charlotte went from being a soprano in school to an empowered stage star in just 10 years. During that time, she has been in the public eye, growing professionally and personally, living her truth and having the guts to speak out about things that matter to her. She shows how she has grown from a young artist with potential to a strong voice in the performing arts community. Although she sings well, people connect with her not only because of her voice, but also because she is brave, kind, and always true to herself, both on stage and on her online platforms. Jonathan's new look. Jonathan Antoine was first seen by the public as a shy youngster singing opera on Britain's Got Talent. Since then, he has gone through a huge change in his personal life. His amazing weight drop has been one of the most noticeable and talked about parts of his change. Jonathan recently said in interviews that he has lost over 5 stone, or more than 70 pounds, by making small changes to his lifestyle, getting more exercise, and caring more about his health. This change wasn't caused by feeling like they had to follow the rules or ideals of the entertainment business. Instead, Jonathan made it clear that he was driven by a versatility in a darker, more mature performance context. Jonathan Antoine, on the other hand, stayed firmly rooted in the classical crossover space, where his rich tenor voice could be fully appreciated. Shortly after the duo's separation, Jonathan released his debut solo album, Tenore, in 2014 under Sony Classical. which quickly topped the classical artist albums chart in the UK. The album featured a selection of operatic arias and classical standards, allowing him to establish himself independently as a serious vocal talent. It was met with critical acclaim and commercial success, proving that Jonathan could indeed stand on his own, though not at the cost of the warmth and humanity he had demonstrated alongside Charlotte. In 2016, he followed up with Believe, another album that blended Italian arias with powerful orchestral arrangements. This release further cemented his status as one of Britain's most promising classical performers and expanded his international audience. The two artists ventured far beyond the UK stage in either's career. Jonathan especially took to international touring in Canada and the US, while one of his memorable concerts, Beyond the Curtain, was a three-part venture that fused operatic staples with favourite musical theatre and even Disney classics, thereby letting an altogether more playful theatrical side to his stage persona emerge. He even worked together with greats in the musical arena, Diane Warren, for an album called By Request, the Diane Warren Songbook, Volume 1, which attempted to cross over from operatic power to contemporary balladry. Charlotte, though perhaps less favourably represented by the classical music press, cultivated a loyal following with lots of stage work and social media. Her performances were always acknowledged for their emotional honesty, and she gained a reputation in UK musical theatre, working for the Royal Shakespeare Company and beyond. Continuing their different paths, Jonathan and Charlotte have both since cultivated separate yet successful territories, playing their own cards. Charlotte's route involves emphasizing the immediacy and telling of stories that allow her to become the actress and performer she is today. On the other hand, Jonathan is claimed to have grown into a soloist whose voice could fill large concert halls and win international audiences, as their trajectories would eventually find divergence in style, with Charlotte's portraying narrative and drama, while Jonathan's leaned into grandeur, Charlotte's personal evolution. In 2022, Charlotte Giaconelli took a meaningful step in publicly embracing her identity by coming out as bisexual. The singer and West End performer made the announcement on Instagram during Pride Month, posting a striking image of herself wrapped in a pride flag. The post, which was met with an outpouring of support from fans and peers, marked a moment of vulnerability and visibility. For Charlotte, who first rose to fame as a teenager on Britain's Got Talent, the decision to share this part of herself was more than a personal milestone. It was also a statement of solidarity with the LGBTQ+ community in the arts. Beyond her personal identity, Charlotte has also used her platform to address broader issues affecting the theatre world, particularly mental health. As someone who has transitioned from reality television to the demanding world of live theatre, she has spoken openly about the psychological pressures performers face. Her advocacy is part of a growing movement within the theatre industry to prioritise mental well-being and support systems for performers, especially as discussions about burnout and self-care become more mainstream in creative professions. Charlotte's social media persona highlights her growth, beyond that of simply a performer, into an accessible and thoughtful public figure. Known for her biting wit and self-deprecating humour, she often takes to Instagram and TikTok to show audiences behind the scenes of her theatre life, humorous moments of her day, and reflections on personal growth. This heady mix of candour and charisma has helped her forge a strong fan base that has grown well beyond her BGT days, engaging a new generation of musical theatre enthusiasts. In the 10 years of her transformation from schoolgirl soprano to empowered stage star, Charlotte has been in the public eye, growing professionally and personally, living authentically, and having the courage to speak on issues that matter to her. Charlotte illustrates how she has evolved from a young talent into a powerful voice in the performing arts community, be it on the stage or on her online platforms, continues to represent an evolution that audiences resonate with, not just because of her singing, but because of her bravery, kindness, and relentless authenticity. Jonathan's reinvention. Jonathan Antoine, once introduced to the world as a shy, opera-singing teenager on Britain's Got Talent, has undergone a profound personal transformation since his time in the spotlight. One of the most visible and talked about aspects of his evolution has been his remarkable weight loss. In recent interviews, Jonathan revealed that he has lost over 5 stone, more than 70 pounds, through gradual lifestyle changes, increased physical activity, and a deeper commitment to his well-being. This change wasn't fueled by pressure to conform to entertainment industry ideals or aesthetic standards. Instead, Jonathan made it clear that his motivation came from a desire to feel healthier, stronger, and more in control of his body and mind. "I've still got a lot to lose," he shared, "but I'm making my way. I feel stronger and healthier than I have in 10 years.